responsibilities of an executor are often seen as burdensome, time-consuming, and challenging. It's therefore not uncommon for persons to decline the honor of being named an executor of a will. The reality is that many persons are not made aware of their appointment until after the death of the testator. So in deciding whether to accept or refuse the office, it is important for executors to understand their role in an estate. Christina Brown, attorney and partner in the conveyancing department at DunnCox Attorneys-at-Law, is our guest with all the details. Good afternoon, Christina.
Good evening to you, Deon. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this is really a pleasure for us. Believe me. Thank you. So, walk us through, first of all, who is an executor?
Okay, so an executor is basically a person who is appointed by the maker of a will, a testator or testatrix as the case may be, as the person who will carry out their testamentary wishes. So an executor can be an individual like a relative or a close friend of the testator, or it can be an institution such as a trust corporation.
No. And I guess everyone would want me to ask you then, what are the duties of an executor?
Okay, so the duties of an executor generally include collecting, preserving, and realizing and distributing the assets of the estate of the deceased, right? So in order to wind up a deceased person's estate, there are certain things that an executor has to do, including applying to the court for probate of the will, advertising for creditors, ensuring that all the debts and liabilities of the estate are settled, and also administering and distributing the estate in accordance with the terms of the will, right? So all of these duties, Deon, must be discharged with reasonable care and skill, which is why it is prudent for executors to retain the services of an attorney at law to assist with the whole winding up process.
But can an executor do any acts in relation to the estate before obtaining probate?
Actually, yes. So because an executor derives his title from the will itself, in theory, he can do any act which is incidental to his office before obtaining probate, because the probate is just the authentication of his title. So, for instance, immediately on the death of the testator, the executor can take possession of any assets of the estate. In practice, however, we know that most persons or entities won't deal with an executor unless he produces a grant of probate. So it makes sense to actually wait until, the grant is obtained before certain acts are done.
Is an executor entitled to receive any remuneration for carrying out the duties in relation to an estate?
Actually, yes. So we do have statute in Jamaica that makes provision for payment of a commission to executors. So if the will doesn't specifically say what remuneration is to be paid to the executor, he will be entitled to receive the same compensation that's payable to the Administrator General under Section 48 of the Administrator General's Act, which is 6% of all the monies passing through his hands, right? So if there are more than one executors, then the commission will be divided equally among those executors who actually prove the will, right? And I should also mention that executors are entitled to be reimbursed for any out-of-pocket expenses that they incur while executing their duties.
Okay. How can an executor avoid liability from claims made by beneficiaries and creditors of the estate?
Okay, Deon, so that's a good question. It actually involves a combination of things, right? So if an executor commits a breach of his duties, thereby causing a loss of assets, he's going to be personally liable to the beneficiaries and the creditors of the estate for the loss. So liability, I would say, can generally be avoided by, doing certain things. So, for instance, ensuring that all the assets of the estate are properly secured and valued, regularly updating the beneficiaries and the creditors on the progress of the administration of the estate, keeping proper records and making them available for inspection by interested parties, and also filing an account of the administration of the estate with the court, even though this is not mandatory. So those are just, some of the things that the executor can do, and also ensuring that they act with, all honesty in the execution of their duties.
So it really is one of responsibility, and you want to make sure that you select a person who is quite capable to be an executor of your estate.
Right, and who you are confident, someone who you're confident that will carry out your wishes when you die. Yes. Because persons can actually, having been named as an executor, persons can renounce their executorship. There is provision for that, right?
Yes.
By signing a deed of renunciation. So the fact that a person has been named an executor of a will doesn't mean they necessarily have to execute the duties of the office. They can actually say, no, I do not want to do this. This is too much, right? I'm going to renounce my executorship. So
it's best to try and know beforehand that who you've selected will be equipped to carry through your wishes as you
and
wish.
Also, if you have somebody in mind, make sure, when you're making your will, for those who haven't made wills as yet, if you have somebody in mind who you want to name as your executor, talk to the person first. Right?
Yes.
And find out from them if it's something that they'll actually be willing to do, because not all persons are, willing to take on that sort of responsibility.
Well, I've asked all the questions I think I can with this topic, but before, do you have any hashtags to share with us?
No, I didn't have any hashtags for today. But I just wanted to say, for anybody else, any listener out there who might find him or herself in the position of an executor. As attorneys, we're here to help you, to make the whole process of winding up an estate less stressful. So feel free to reach out to any attorney who if you need assistance.
Yeah, and I think the hashtag is actually make sure we all know where we're going to go. So it can be by we expect it with illness or unexpectedly in various situations. So these are discussions as we mature that we have to be brave enough to face and have the discussion so that our loved ones are not left ill-equipped to be able to take through the process, which is painful enough as it is, eh?
It is, yes, indeed.
I thank you so very much, Christine. It's been really, really interesting hearing all the details, and some of us may need to catch up on it, Christina, to see what it is we're doing.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's season 5 of The Legal Landscape. What will you come with next week? I can only wait excitedly to see. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now. Christina Brown is attorney and partner in the conveyancing department at DunnCox Attorneys-at-Law. And we looked at the role of an executor.